Ready for the clap?
3, 2, 1.
That was okay. It wasn't terrible.
Wasn't terrible. We'll roll with it.
Okay, we're back.
We're back after a long break.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
Has it been? It's been over a month since we've posted on social media, at least.
I think it's been 2. It's been since July.
So, and welcome to the Kinda Lost podcast. I think that this is episode 4. I hope I remember correctly. It could be 5. It could be 6. I really don't know.
I think it's 3.
This might be 3 or 4.
I think it's 3.
Welcome to an episode of the Kinda Lost podcast.
I'm voting 3.
Okay, let's go 3.
Do we want to talk about what we have on our table today, since that's kind of our normal spiel?
Indeed. Yeah, let's go for it. So we've got...
First, you gotta explain. The obvious.
Oh, you're gonna force me to go for this guy?
Yeah,
right here.
He's yours.
This guy. Yeah. This is a gnome, and it's a really cool gnome, and they're a little bit spendy, but they're super cool. They are. It's made in Lithuania. I don't know if I knew that. I thought it was Norwegian. But these are, where did we find it? Astoria.
Yeah.
I found it in a gift shop in Astoria.
Yeah, the Norwegian gift shop in Astoria. It's kind of cool. So like he looks...
Or Finnish. Is it Finnish maybe? It was a Finnish gift, because they're big Finns over there, right? Yeah,
the full... What?
I don't know.
But he's cute. But it's cool because he looks like he's like hard like clay.
But he's kind of rubbery.
He's rubbery. Like
real durable.
He's not going to break. His stick is wiggly. Like...
Yeah, and like he's just the right amount of creepy.
He's ugly as hell.
Yeah.
And
you know what? He haunts our dreams, and we love him for it. And then we've got, what's our little portal rock here?
It's a crystal agate. Listen, I am not good with my vocabulary on rocks. Yeah. I just say, "Oh, pretty," and take it home with me.
Yeah, so, and we totally grabbed it because it honestly looks like a portal to another dimension. Yeah. Especially when you put those fairy lights in there. I was
like, oh, I'm going to put lights in there and it'll be super pretty. But we got that at Richardson Rock Ranch.
You even remember the name. That was as we were headed out.
It's outside of Madras. I can't remember the area, but we were heading to Central Oregon. You know, there's all those thunder eggs and stuff. And I was obsessed. Just a whole yard full of rocks.
Literally, like, huge yard. That they just have massive rocks in rows. If you're a rock person... Don't go.
Do go.
And finally...
This is one of my propagation starter jars. It's from... This plant is propagated from one of the very first plants when we moved into the house. Uh-huh. My first, box that I got to put in the window, the first plant.
And it's alive!
Well, it died, but I saved a leaf.
Oh, wait, so this is a baby?
Yeah, this is a baby of it. The original's gone. But... I at least saved it, and it's finally starting to mature just enough to start getting the brown tips, which I'm really excited. They're fuzzy.
Yeah, and so anything that is like a texture on a alive green plant is going to be a Sophia thing.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's fuzzy. But yeah, so it's a bit of a crowded in there because I was literally just like dropping little starter leaves in there, and so
this is our collection for the day.
Yep,
we've got 3 items. We decided to be less boring.
All right, so introductions are through.
Yeah, and so I guess this time we went through and we have kind of a list of topics that we want to see if we can chug through. And maybe you're seeing this on TikTok, maybe you're seeing this on Reels. I don't know if this part will make it to those cuts, but we're gonna try and see if we can up our social media game by doing sometimes long-form podcasts and then cutting it into bits that end up getting onto social media platforms.
You know, the main interesting bits, so if you don't want to, you don't have to sit through the whole thing to
I feel
get
like
to
this
the fun
won't be
parts.
one of those bits. Dang it. But so here's our first topic. First topic is, what have we been up to? Why have we not posted in 2 months?
Because I'm horrible at social media. But besides that... we've been sick.
We got COVID twice.
Yeah, again, and I've been basically sick since the middle of July, off and on, going through either, not always, I don't know if the first round was COVID or not, but
I'm not sure.
It felt worse than the actual.
But you've been going through different weird stuff, muscle soreness, just fatigue.
Yeah.
And then then you do get COVID. to throw on top of that. So there's been a lot of just trying to chug through, particularly moments at home, trying to work through the computer, you know, the important stuff, the edits.
Getting our health back up at the same time, getting through the edits, but also trying not to, sit there and overstress ourselves to the point where we make ourselves more sick.
Yeah.
And because I know that doesn't help me sometimes. I can...
Yeah, like the mental health game in relation to trying to get through sickness is huge.
Yeah.
Not that, not having the little dopamine hits of praise on our posts has helped.
Yeah.
That's been absent. But, getting back to that, we've been thinking a little bit on different ways that we could change up what we have done. And in the past, that's basically been... You'd say like mostly we post a small collection of photos from any given session and then do a write-up that makes sense with it. Long, short.
Here or there. It gets mixed up. But we've been trying to decide between doing those photo posts and, the big game is Reels right now.
Yeah.
And
Reels,
seeing
TikTok,
how
just video.
Video. I'm a lover of, we're struggling here because I'm a lover of still photography and I'm always going to be a lover of still photography, but obviously times are evolving, and right now short form video is
huge,
at least in terms of what is being digested on social media.
But to be fair, in the beginning of this, like the beginning of the end of us posting for these like couple of months, it seemed like there was a lot of talk about Instagram is not going to be a photo sharing platform anymore. It's going to be a video sharing platform, and that hasn't, like, you haven't stopped looking at photos.
No.
I feel like, I don't know about you guys, if anybody out there has stopped looking at photos.
When you are on Instagram, what is it that you are looking at? Are you looking at Reels? Are you looking at stories? Or are you looking at people's thread posts on their feed that are photos?
Curious about that.
We want to know, because what are you looking at?
We basically just trying to get behind.
Right. We've obviously had these like 2 months off of not doing anything because we're trying to, sick, still working, have a massive editing list to get
Huge
through.
editing
and
list.
Also just being confused on how we want to start sharing our work, making sure that it gets seen.
Right.
That's all that we're working on. Because I don't want to have a session that I'm really proud of, and I post all these beautiful photos of them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get seen because that's not what the algorithm's looking for.
And I know to some degree it's going to be hit or miss. There are going to be times where it just flat out doesn't get what you want it to, and that just happens.
That's fine. It's not like you can control that, but at the same time, it's like if there's a
what's
difference.
Going to give us what's like going to give us the highest chance? What's the best probable outcome?
Right.
And how do we make sure that we're on point with that? Which is almost, I think it might be impossible to tell. So to a degree, maybe we just stick with as much of the, I guess like as many of the different kinds of posting as we can.
Yeah.
But
and starting to incorporate more actual video project posts, not just taking our photo projects, making them into video reels.
Right.
But us doing more video projects in terms of business advertisements.
Yeah,
or,
things like that.
Anything you need a video for.
Yeah, and doing video is for me equally as much a passion, and sometimes more a passion than photos, depending on what kind of video we're talking about. But being able to do it, they go so hand in hand. Like, if you're a person who loves video, nothing will hurt from you learning photography, obviously. Photography is going to inform so much of how you can do different portions of video, maybe even enhance it, and then vice versa. Being a photographer, learning a thing or two about other operations of the camera, and particularly how to handle, more active movement and more dynamics in any given scene is going to help you a ton too. And there's like a ton of technical stuff to get into on both sides, but both are so awesome, and I think that we both love them in different ways.
Yeah.
And so trying to get to a point where we can share both and have people feel like it's still true to who we are as creators is tough. And
as well as mix that in with figure out how to get my graphic design advertised.
Right. Well, and graphic design is so, it's, yeah, man, we're a freaking media company, right? So like, what do we get? So yeah, graphic design, which actually can segue into, so what do we do with graphic design? And I guess let me check out our next question, because I guess that this goes straight into our next topic, really.
What projects we are wanting to do.
Yeah. So in having this time off, and having time to think about where exactly we're taking, the entirety of the business, which is, boy, is that daunting to think about. I guess from your perspective, what's like one thing that you're thinking we could expand into that we haven't touched on all the way yet?
Well, I mean, we've touched on it a few times. It's just, I think, working on finding that real foothold to start booking more of those jobs. But finding businesses, startups, even individuals who need to represent themselves as an individual, making themselves present. Branding, creating branding for those businesses and people. Something that tools, basically. We're providing tools that they can use to advertise what they do.
Yeah, so I guess trying for us now, thinking about how much we have enjoyed the few times that we've worked with like other small businesses, trying to get to a point where we can serve those people even better and more often, and find more people like that. Because in a lot of ways, we're very grateful and lucky to be in a situation where our business is media, and media is necessary for every part of owning and running a business these days.
Right.
So, if we can provide something, and work with somebody who's trying to sort out how to do a better job, whether it's like, I want a better headshot attached to my email.
Right.
Or
I'm launching a product next month and I need product photos and video displaying everywhere where my product will be used.
Yeah, every aspect of like what you do kind of outlined in a video ends up just like, people love it, man. I don't know about everybody else, but I grew up watching How It's Made and the Discovery Channel, and getting to see, Mike Rowe, Dirty Jobs, man, and getting to see how people do what they do was like one of my favorite things.
Right.
And so being able to provide that and create that is kind of crazy to think about now.
Well, like for instance, what I would love to do is if you had even something simple, like you have a local handyman who's a one-man show, but he can do it all. He's a welder. He can do, fix your roof. He can put up walls, build you a house.
Yeah.
Fix your deck. Total contractor. But like, I would love to do a shoot focusing on a welder and his work.
Oh man.
Video and
shiny
photo.
Things.
Yeah.
Sparks
Textures.
flying, texture.
Just that dynamic of what that might look like.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing to me. That's what I'm hunting for. That type of, or doing a farrier, a horse farrier.
Oh, dude.
The shots I'm imagining, adding some cool lighting. You can totally like add this badass aesthetic to your business by doing a little photo shoot where we light you up looking super dramatic. As you're putting the horseshoe on the horse's hoof, the steam is just billowing, and we're pair that with a little headshot at the end.
Yeah.
Advertise that, throw that on your business card,
Oh, dude. Yeah, and like that's the thing is, I feel like sometimes and let this serve as an advertisement to anybody that might have like a small business that they are, they're listening to this, so they have a friend that maybe could benefit from this, like send them our way, because we'd love to talk about, if there's any idea you might have, or if you're not even certain how media, I guess, in general could serve your business, because I feel like something that people find out in getting to work with us is like there are a lot of different things that are cool about your business that you might be too humble to be aware of.
Right. Being like, from an outside perspective, we can look at you and be like, no, that's cool. You need to highlight that.
We need to see. You need to let people see.
Right. That's going to make you stand out from everyone else.
Yeah, they're going to go nuts when they know that. You
right.
know? And sometimes it's just that people work harder than they're aware of. And they do little things that maybe they hadn't considered being a little eccentric or a little off the cuff.
Right.
And in us getting to watch what they're doing, we see those things, and even subconsciously we'll go, oh, I'm going to focus on that. Mm-hmm. And then later we go, whoa, that makes them like the shit at what they do. It makes them really good at what they do. But yeah, so I guess going that direction.
Yeah. Or, I would love to, even sometimes event coverage would be fun. Not
Yeah.
in terms of like a big event, like a festival or something.
Right.
And the festival needs something that's eye-catchy that they can put on local news and radio stations.
Yeah.
That advertises what's going on.
Right.
And draws a crowd. There's a lot of smaller local events that I think with something visual like that for people to see and actually see the advertisement of like, oh, that looks like fun.
Yeah, that actually looks awesome.
It'll draw a much larger crowd.
Yeah, because sometimes, like there are a lot of introverts out there, man. So as far as festivals and event coverage go, like I always think about it, like sometimes you're not really aware of what a space is going to be like. And if you're the kind of person that shies away from events, you might be like you hear about something, somebody say, hey man, come to Oktoberfest with me.
Right.
Something like that. And you're like, what is that? I don't know if I want. And so a cheat code in the modern world is, people like us can come and give a real down to earth, like this is almost documentarian version of what that experience is like in short form even.
Right.
And get to give them a preview of what it might be like to go there. And, if it's actually a cool space to be in, people might be thrilled and like actually come out where they wouldn't otherwise come out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What about you? Any other specific directions that you would?
I'm obviously really excited in general at the idea of doing videos in that space, and not just event coverage. I mean, creating videos for businesses, particularly people who are, even if you're established, people on the smaller end of things, it's really cool to get to work with them because, that might be me being scared of huge companies.
Right. Well, I
want to work with huge companies too in the future.
I just had this thought. I'm like, what's the difference between like any major company, like take Coca-Cola, for example, and, a smaller soda brand like Henry, that one brand.
Well, Henry's is definitely
like
smaller, but still huge.
I know, but like in that scheme,
like Poppy, like that one that we were drinking for just a bit.
You don't see those advertisements for Henry's.
Right. Yeah,
that's the only difference is like just, part of that draw is seeing that advertisement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because when you ask that, it's like, what is the difference? Is from our perspective and interaction, I'm not really sure what, outside of timelines and maybe a little bit more strict creative vision, I'm not sure there would be. And sometimes I almost think that having a more strict, if we were working with a larger corporation, I would assume that having a more strict sort of outline of what they want, unless it's really hard to accomplish, could maybe make things really easy. Or if we're really wanting to push a certain direction, maybe it would be frustrating, like working with a brand that's saying no to ideas that you may really be passionate about. But the cool thing with working with smaller people is just openness, like on both ends. And I think it only works if both ends are open too. You've just got to be able to talk with each other in a way where you're throwing ideas to the wind, and you'll see if anything, if anything floats, if anything really looks good. Yeah. And I love that process. But particularly, back to what you were asking me, particularly video. I love every part of actually planning out creating a video is really intriguing. I'm sure as I do it more, parts of it will get real stale. But right now I'm excited about every part, man, from scripting it and reviewing that with the client to like assembling gear. Duh. I really love assembling the gear to do it. And then actually seeing if I'm capable of having us have a successful shoot day, because it can be like, to get your timing right, it can be tough, and you test yourself. And then like one of the most exciting things in my mind, even for something as simple as this very podcast, is getting it back to the edit and then being able to chop it up a bit, create your story, change your story. And then finally, like the sauce on everything is like, I love the color grading process because of our years in doing photos. So I'm pumped about just basically any video project that we can move forward doing right now is exciting.
Nice. Now, if no one was watching and you had full creativity, like unleashed, what would you be wanting to do?
Good segue, dude. So if nothing was blocking us as far as like what we think other people are thinking of what we do, or just if it were just no restrictions, not even money.
Sure, not even money.
Yeah, so
in a perfect world.
In a perfect world, not that I need a huge budget, but just like focusing back onto that same thing is just, I want to make creative video.
Film.
I want to make a film. I want to do that at least one time. There are other creative projects and stuff that I'm interested in doing, but I want to make a film. I want to make a badass movie that is, satisfying to me creatively, and I feel like I'm kind of finicky or picky about how a story would, how I would actually be able to create a story I think that I would find inspiring, because I'm finicky about what movies I like anyway. And in writing, I write slow. I think I write pretty slow. And so, yeah, I really think that it would end up being some sort of gritty drama. Probably. There might be like a little gore, but only at like really good moments. There'd probably be some dark comedy in there. And I think I would have some very questionable characters. With a weird kind of sparkle in their eye.
Are you telling me you're a little bit of an edgelord?
Okay. Maybe.
Sorry.
But, no, dude. But like, I think that would be it. I think that I would probably just dive straight into, okay, if I have like the opportunity, and I'm not worried about sending the wrong signals out to the world, which maybe that's the point, is like we shouldn't be. I would probably dive straight into making an R-rated film.
All right. Off the top of your head, what's your favorite R-rated film?
Of all time?
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't want to sound cringe.
I know it, but you don't want to say it to sound cringe.
I'm gonna sound so cringe, but and I even hate that term.
I know.
But I'm just gonna go straight for it and say, oh gosh, I hope you guys don't think that I'm this stereotypical person, but for some reasons that maybe like the kind of weird douchey person like me would only know, I'm such a fan club of Fight Club.
Yeah, there it is.
I'm such a fanboy of Fight Club. Yeah, so Fight Club, man. Okay. I don't know what to do about it. It's not for the stupid reasons.
I know. It's deeper than that.
As a person who pays a lot of attention to cinematography and all the things that they were doing so well at the end of the 90s, it was a culmination of all these tropes that I felt like were building in other movies, but this one just got it so right.
Yeah.
Now, I have to now contrast that by saying my other favorite probably film director and writer. So David Fincher is the guy that did Fight Club. Mm-hmm. Right next to him, second up, or maybe even above, just on average, would be Quentin Tarantino and all of his films. His formula, it's his own thing. Nobody else does that, and yeah, I'm a geek for it.
The reason I like these movies is just because it's raw and unapologetic.
Yeah, it really couldn't.
It lays it out there for you to determine how you wanted to determine it. What's the word? That's not determine.
Perceive.
Yes.
Perceive it the way you want to perceive it.
Yeah.
Well, and it's such a ride, right? So like there's such a constant. I don't know. Storytelling has changed. Sometimes it feels like when you're watching films, it's. I don't want to call all of them dry, but you feel like you have a really good idea of what's happening and where this thing's going to go. And with movies like his, and there are many other people who do a great job, but with movies like that, it feels like I'm along for the ride and I am clueless. And I kind of, I miss that feeling in movies from when we were kids and we're just getting into it. We didn't know all of the tropes yet. Mm-hmm. But now just because you threw that at me, do you have a favorite R-rated film that you can think of, recent or not? Oof. You didn't grow up watching them. I'm a bad person. I grew up watching R-rated
No,
movies.
You've exposed them all to me, but it's what I've always, I've wanted to watch all of these, and I enjoy them implicitly. But off the top of the head, the one that jumps immediately as far as R-rated is probably Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's so sweet. Because that's his most recent.
Yeah. But It's what's coming to my head. It was
So
so
fun.
entertaining.
Okay. I don't know if I'm putting you too much on the spot. If you don't remember character names, who cares? But favorite character from that film? Do you have one? Between Leo's
Leo
character
and
and Brad, which one did you dig more? Did you like Cliff Booth, the way he played that, or did you like...
No, I definitely like Brad's character more.
It's hard not to, man, when you show up and you just throw Bruce
I'm
Lee
sorry,
into a car.
Leo's character was, like, to me, was weak.
Yeah, but I thought that it was just fun.
Yeah.
And so many good gifs have been made of his character. The whistling, the snapping.
Yeah. There it is.
It's me. That was the best, man. Okay. So what's our next topic?
Let's see.
Here, let me read it, because now if it's a question, I have
Well,
to pose this toward you.
You didn't ask it. You asked me the movie question.
Oh man, I got distracted. Okay, here it is. You ready for this?
No, I'm not.
You ready for this? So,
I shouldn't have said anything.
you almost got by, but now you're screwed, man. If no one was watching you creatively, what would you be doing?
Probably a lot of mental health visual metaphors.
So,
Both mostly in photo, but a few in video would be fun. But in the very beginning of my photography journey, I was doing a bunch of self-portraits inspired by different points of mental health and views.
stuff you were going through.
Yeah, personally, and just trying to figure out how to visually represent that without using very many words. And that's always been my goal. And so I'd be doing more of that. But in the grand scheme of things, it gets raw, it gets uncomfortable. And we're a public business. We've been making our money taking family photos. We work with kids all the time. There's a certain, we've wanted to keep a certain face in terms of what our business is.
Yeah, and how can you not?
But there's a lot of things where I do need to just get over it and post it. And, if people are upset with it, they can be if they don't understand. But
yeah, well, and as a point that I heard, I think from, I don't know if it was another podcast or just some word I heard somebody say, but was basically, people I don't think follow us or really anybody for their specific skill set as much as they do for the person. And so, my hope is that for the sake of not only our mental health, but also, to, I guess, inspire others to be more open. If we are open about who we are kind of constantly, that I guess the people that like us will like us, and the people that don't like us, they won't like us, and that'll end up being a good thing for everybody involved. And I guess that's the only way that I can look at it and stay sane.
if you like us now, hopefully you stay liking us.
Please like me.
If you end up not liking us, then I guess bye. If that's too harsh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but cruel as it is, that's how you treat people. Like, social media has made it weird. When you see somebody in the street and they're speaking a certain way, I would just say probably prior to the internet, it was very clear whether you liked a person or not after a brief conversation. And It's like, if I don't like you, goodbye. And now it's all weird because we have all these different outlets to disguise.
You're friends with so many people on Facebook. You're friends on Facebook with people that you're not actually friends with.
Right.
You don't care to be friendly towards them, really.
Yeah.
But
So
people are weird and want to keep tabs on their enemies.
But so you would go back to doing a bit of self-portraiture. And
So maybe some self-portraiture. Of course, there's the uneasiness of me just being comfortable with what I look like, and
Right.
that mental health struggle there. But I want to incorporate other people. I want to incorporate other people's stories and struggles, and come a little bit like have them come to me with something like, I need help representing something I'm dealing with, and I want to do it visually. How can I do that?
yeah.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Because to me, in the act of making that art, it's very therapeutic.
Well, and then I could imagine, and this is kind of, I guess, me speaking on it for you, but so basically dramatic portraiture is really cool because you can convey some honest emotion that people might be having. But what about, so you're obviously such a huge fan of the horse world, but one
There's
thing
all that too.
Yeah, there's all that, but I was thinking like one thing that we really haven't done, I don't think, I'm trying to think back, we haven't really done any dramatic portraiture in the horse world.
Just savannas, really.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right?
The witch shoot. Yeah.
There was one other Halloween shoot, but that was very specifically Halloween.
Yeah.
But savannas was probably the most dramatic we've done.
Right. And dude, dramatic horse portraiture done right
So
is
beautiful.
And lately, you've been seeing some dramatic horse portraiture that you've been pretty.
Oh, you want me? So, like, if we just ended up being equine photographers, I would be okay with that too.
Yeah.
But it's just another door that we could take, another option that I'd be totally fine with. But something that I wouldn't mind making a life goal if we go that direction is to never see another magazine cover. Is it too close?
You're fine. I'm
Okay.
just twisting it.
Another magazine cover that has a horse on it that looks like not a single person on set or during the edit had any knowledge or any care for what the horse looked like, or any knowledge to any nod to any knowledge of just
Etiquette.
regular equine etiquette.
Yeah.
Like, oh God. And I have examples I could show. Like, there's...
Yeah, dude, if we wouldn't get in trouble by showing them on the podcast, it would actually be pretty funny to get to show these and point out things that are pretty obvious.
Okay, so 2 examples.
Yes, let's go.
I'm not going to show them, but I can describe them. First off, Men's Health magazine. We have John Krasinski.
Yes.
He is
Beautiful man.
in a blue denim suit. It looks clean. He looks great.
Yes.
It's John Krasinski.
Yeah.
For some fucking reason, he's on a dirty paint horse that has a saddle pad that looks like it's not even a real saddle pad. It's just an Indian blanket that's folded over several times. The saddle, I don't know where they got the saddle, like from some antique shop. I don't know. The leather was curling. It looked like it was made in the frickin' 30s.
Right.
And John is like, I don't know if the horse is being naughty and like being antsy, and who knows if John's ever been on a horse and knows how to handle a horse that's being antsy and naughty. But the horse's head is clear up in the air, its mouth is wide open, and John's pulling on the reins, and the bit is clear back in his mouth, and that's the cover shot.
He's choking, just
Like,
going crazy. Yeah, and that's the cover shot.
To me, like, I thought, like, maybe the horse, like, threw his head up in the middle of a shoot and that just happened to be a click. That's fine.
Right.
It happens with us when horses are being ornery, their head swings, we get that shot.
Yeah.
It's not unnormal to get that kind of shot. It can happen by accident. But who the hell thought that was the cover shot?
Well, and so my only explanation that I can think of at all is just that it's kind of by complete accident, and no, the editor or, you know, whoever the tastemaker is doesn't really know etiquette, and they happen to see that photo, and it's the most visually striking because something weird was happening.
Something's happening. It looks like the horse is like a breathing.
That's the one.
It looks like the horse is breathing like a fire-breathing dragon into the sky. But that's not normal. That's not what horses are supposed to look like.
Yeah, and I can see neglect being a thing that might by accident happen.
Well, and the horses sometimes they look neglected. Like they literally pulled them out of some field on the side of the road and said, "Let's do a photo shoot."
And you never know. Like, you don't know how they've decided. Like, not everyone's gonna immediately go to the upper echelon of companies in the equine world,
right?
To get what they need. Another
Another example, and this one even confuses me even more. You have it was American Pharoah, I believe, the Triple Crown winner of horse racing.
Yeah.
So won the Belmont Stakes, Kentucky Derby, and I can't remember what the third race is. But like hasn't happened since Secretariat, right?
Yeah.
Huge history breaking deal.
Yeah.
Beautiful horse, absolute athlete.
Yeah.
Basically top horse of the world. And was it Vogue did an article on him? And
Generally speaking, interesting magazine, fun pictures.
It's Vogue, but they, for the cover photo, they put him on a white backdrop, which was fine, but they went and, like, hosed him down so he was wet and sleek and shiny, which
right, I remember
that
this
can
now.
look cool.
Yeah.
But it showed every rib. Like, that it accentuated every rib in his body. And listen, like, thoroughbreds are supposed to be fit and tight. Like, I'm not looking at a horse that's like him that has, oh my god, I see his ribs, he's abused. No, you're gonna see ribs on a thoroughbred like that. He's not skin and bone, but it was just like the water made the sheen, it just didn't look right. And then the pose that he was in, he was resting a foot, which, if you know horses, it's like, if it's just, don't let them rest a foot. They have 4 feet, plant square. And he was looking at the camera, but his ears were like totally flat to the side. He looked like a freaking donkey. And I'm like, how do you make a grand champion like this look that just boring?
How do you take that sexy a horse and make it look stupid, basically?
Right. And like, then you put that as the cover photo. Like, there could have been the behind the scenes shot that they posted in the magazine in the article.
Yeah.
During the photo shoot, his ears were forward. That shot looked 10 times better than the cover photo. But
what
anyways,
are you gonna do, though, man? Yeah,
that's the rant.
So yeah, that's going on in the world of fashion photography.
To
right the wrongs
of equine high fashion photography.
Yeah, we're gonna set this straight. So
and incorporate that. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Incorporate all of my like creative ideas in high fashion photography at a horse.
Yeah.
And actually do it right.
Right. I think that I would love to be on the coattails of that journey. That sounds amazing.
Perfect.
And yeah, and so I guess that we can now go into our next
ranting about bad horse photography.
Oh, dude, that was fantastic. I'm happy that we get to air that. So then, what we wish our clients knew about working with us is sort of the next spot we were hoping to hit. So it's kind of interesting because I think that if we're talking about kind of the preparation of like pre-photo shoot, pre-video shoot, really, yeah, just pre-photo or video shoot with us, what are some of the key points that you would want somebody to know who is, let's say, nervous or hasn't ever had a photo session done before? Anything that you could point out?
I get it.
So basically, same.
Yeah, same.
I feel you.
Same. Listen, like, don't feel bad if you're feeling nervous or feeling bad before a photo shoot. Like, because that is normal. It's not normal or comfortable for any. There's a few people out there, obviously, who are comfortable in front of the camera, and they've gotten comfortable in front of the camera, but like, it can be uncomfortable in front of the camera. But I just want everyone to know that it's okay. We're not judging you for being uncomfortable in front of the camera, because if we were there, we would be in the same spot as you. Yeah,
we would feel exactly the same, even at this point.
Yeah,
like we just
trembling in front of the camera. I don't want to be here.
Basically, the only difference that we have is just the knowledge of how to, assemble the pieces and make the whole thing actually look good.
Right.
Other than that, there's no world in which it should be, unless it's your literal daily job, that you should be, feeling completely comfortable in front of a camera. It just doesn't make sense.
Right.
And so to be completely nervous, to get in front of the camera, completely makes sense. Or just to feel clueless, like you get there and you're like, what am I supposed to do?
We got it.
We have it. That's our job. That's where our job begins. Our job begins that you arrive.
Yeah.
From there, we pretty much can take the reins. But something that I'd want to throw out to everybody is basically, don't be afraid to bring your ideas. Mm-hmm. One thing that we would love to see more often would be whether it's that we're working with a business or we're working with an individual or a couple, and we're doing a session for you. Don't be afraid to have some ideas. If you're like, hey, I think that this would help me out a ton, and plus I saw this cool version of something online, bring it to us. We can come up with a version of it and likely work something out. unless it just sucks.
All right. And we'll tell that.
That's never happens. You're fine. But yeah, bring us your ideas, man. And particularly, Sophia loves to, and I have to give credit where credit's due. You tend to take a lot more time working out things like mood boards and inspiration boards for clothing, and just clothing suggestions, makeup suggestions, hair suggestions on Pinterest and other platforms where you can kind of share concepts with clients. And that's something I'm working into doing more as I just have more concepts myself on that. But if you have an idea that feels out there, throw it out anyway, and we can work something in. I'd love to see some more period piece clothing appear in our photos.
Yeah, dude,
that's the best.
I had that one mood board that I put together of like, I still want to do a vintage 1940s couple at a train station.
Ooh, yeah.
Like that feeling of, you see it in movies, in old war movies, the couple that, the husband goes off to war.
Yeah, he's taken off.
I would love to shoot something like
huge
that.
Huge romance.
And it doesn't even have to be like the couple leaving, or the guy leaving, but just a vintage 1940s clothing set with a couple on a rainy day at a train station.
Yeah, that would be nuts. Yeah, if we could find the right
architecture.
And again, that's another part of our job.
The Portland train station down there looks great. I want to do it
awesome.
there. I just need to find the couple and then getting the clothing.
Yeah. And so I guess if we were to run through a couple of things, if you've never worked with us, a couple of the parts of
the
like
process,
getting to the actual shoot with us.
Yeah. So what do you do first if you come across us? And
first thing is you reach out. Obviously, you're going to talk with us on Instagram. You're going to talk with us on Facebook, or you'll email us.
The most secure spot to reach out to us is definitely through our website.
Yes.
At the bottom is the get in contact form that goes straight into our email, and that is the most surefire way to reach us.
Yes.
Messages and DMs on Instagram and Facebook can tend to get a little lost and busy, but either way, you can do all three.
Yeah, you can if you do everything. Yeah, we'll definitely see it. But yeah, definitely the contact form. That's where it starts. So just having an idea of just like telling us, are you an individual looking for photos? Are you a business looking for something specific? Are you a couple who's looking for an elopement? And just letting us know what you're thinking. And sending that through the contact form. Then you just gotta wait on our reply, and we'll probably end up following up with a myriad of other relevant questions to kind of start assembling the idea.
Right, and that's also with the recommendation. Like, take the time if you go through our website to submit a contact form. Take the time to take a look at our website.
Yeah.
We have our pricing packages on there for our standard portrait sessions, as well as our
premium.
We have our elopement packages up there as well. And also, well, I guess that's a little announcement that we're doing, kind of.
Yeah, more or less. So we're trying to get away to a degree from doing traditional weddings and trying to focus, because we've had an incredible experience thus far doing a number of friends and their weddings. But one thing that we're really interested in seeing more of, and this could be even selfish because of the way that we, went out and eloped ourselves, is to capture more couples who did something akin to what we did. And we went to a destination that was really special to us, and brought our parents and
and our dogs.
And we eloped. I was lucky enough to have my dad officiate. And this isn't like the exact formula that anyone needs to follow ever.
No, like that's the beautiful part about elopements.
There is no formula.
There is no formula. You can. One of our first ones we did is still one of my favorites.
Yeah.
We went to Seaside because that's where the couple had their first weekend getaway date. They got married on the beach. Then we followed up that evening by going to Red Robin because that's where they had their first date.
Yes.
And we had dinner. That was where we had the little reception. It was just us and the couple in the back of Red Robin sharing a meal. It was beautiful. Documented it all. And then lastly, for their first dance, we went to the very bar in which they met. and the bar happened to be completely empty. It was just the two of them, and it was honestly probably one of the most romantic moments I've captured.
Yeah,
it was so beautiful, and that's an elopement. It doesn't have to be a hike to the top of a mountain. It doesn't have to be, we can go down to the courthouse, get married, and then go to a park and take photos type of thing. Like, that's very simple, but
it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are some people who will obviously end up taking, if they have a savings put away, they'll end up flying to Iceland.
Right.
But, just anywhere in between. And it basically, the most interesting thing to us I would almost say in life at the moment, but very particularly in the creative sort of rule book is throwing out any traditional concepts and seeing creatively what meaningful, emotive, and impactful thing we can capture for somebody. I think that was the most interesting thing about that particular elopement you were talking about, was just that we did something very non-traditional, which was we went to very specific locations that were super, super private and personal to their memories. Mm-hmm. And we were lucky enough to have it orchestrated in a way where they did get to have a relatively private moment at each of those places, which gave us the opportunity to make a really authentic looking video and capture some really great photos.
Mm-hmm. They're just, with the weddings, traditional weddings we've worked, we just end up noticing throughout the day the general emotions are significantly more stressful. Yeah. And less focused on the bride and groom than probably should be, being that it's their wedding day, and sometimes it's really hard because it's really sad to see. Yeah,
structure basically ends up stealing a lot of structure, and tradition end up stealing a lot of what would be freedom and freedom,
true, just moments of feeling, I guess.
Yeah, just like having that freedom to have emotion. Sometimes it's just overtaken by having so many structured moments. And though for some people, we've seen that go perfectly. And it's been absolutely incredible.
I'm not completely offing traditional weddings.
No.
If you're in the position to have one and have a party and...
Yeah, and you have so many people that love and support you in a very specific way, then it can work out incredibly well. But sometimes structure just doesn't work out the way that you think it will. And throwing structure to the wind and just saying, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to do this the way that I want to do it with you. That can be the most incredibly beautiful thing. And selfishly, we want to capture that as much as we can. Mm-hmm. And so for the most part, we're aiming to see if we can get elopements going forward.
Little tangent there. What we were originally talking about.
Hopefully nobody's feelings are hurt by that, but that's just kind of... and we would even be open... I'd probably be open to discuss that with people if they're even on the fence about it or thinking about it, man, because, I'm going to be only slightly biased. I can definitely hear both sides of it, but if you're wondering about it, what the possibilities are, we'd love to talk about what we could help you to do in service of you. And that's basically, I'll try and stop ranting about that.
A little bit of what, but circling back to what we wish our clients knew about working with us and just the process of reaching out to us and contacting us. Obviously going through our website, make sure you look at our website, all of our social media, and seeing, our portfolio, making sure you're enjoying the work history that we show.
Hopefully you don't think we suck. Yeah. That's number one.
Well, if they think we suck, hopefully they're not reaching out to us.
Just
leave us alone if you think we suck.
Then try not to hurt our feelings. No.
But reaching out, we made the connection, sent the email, sent the message, and...
We're starting to put together details.
Right.
So I guess the details are important. So we might talk with you about things like clothing and just stylization of each individual that'll be involved. And I guess this is focused on if it's a photo session for people instead of a business. So if it's a photo session for people and not a business, we'll probably talk with you about stylization, the mood of the photo session, and then we'll probably move on to location.
The critical parts, the dates, the location.
Time. So we'll sort those out.
And as far as like finding a good date goes, when you reach out to us, we always ask if with your project idea, whether it's like senior session or it's a product that you need photographed, have a deadline in mind.
Yeah.
Because that's the first thing that we want to make sure is with our busy work schedule, can we fulfill your project within your timeline? Because I never want to promise you something I can't fulfill.
Right. Yeah, and that's huge.
And so getting that figured out and that knowing what the possible deadline will be will also help us find out when we can start planning to actually set the shoot date. And as far as that goes, we do this full time. So our schedule is set by what sessions we book.
Yes.
We obviously weekends always fill up faster than weekdays. Those are going to be harder to come by most times, especially
through the busier months.
Through the busier months. Summer through fall is busy. But then as far as, I totally lost my train of thought there.
Well, jumping from basically having the date set, then as we get into the specifics about location, we pair our location with time. So location is going to be dictated by the style of session that we're having with you. So let's just say hypothetically we're going to have a really beautiful romantic couple session with you. We'll set out to find a really cool spot that is relevant to you guys or interesting to you guys.
If you guys don't have any ideas already.
Yeah, if you don't have an idea already, we will work with you to find a perfect spot.
And we'll typically ask you, like, if you have no idea and you're like, I'm an open book, I don't care, well, like, okay, do you like the feeling?
We'll start categorizing.
Right.
We're trying to narrow it down.
Do you like the feeling of like something beachy?
Do you like the beach? Do you like
want to be
city?
up on a mountain? Want some water?
And we'll narrow it down. And if you flat out just don't know, we can just pick a spot.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we try and just narrow it down a little bit.
And also the location depends on travel too, I guess.
Yeah. Yep.
How are you wanting to do a little adventure? Because we love that too. Adventure sessions are our favorite.
Yeah, we will go as far as you want to go. We have to have a travel system in place so that we can afford the gas because everybody's struggling to afford gas
prices.
At the moment. But, so we do like the first 50 miles are included in any given package. And then beyond that, I think that we end up doing about $1 per mile to get out to whatever given location. And we are just trying to afford gas and maintenance on the car. So we'll go as far as you're interested in going. And honestly, we're more excited to go far. But we choose a spot. And then when we choose a spot, we hop onto Google Earth.
The best tool.
The greatest tool. And we use Google Earth to sort out basically when the sun is going to look best at the location.
And what angle the sun's going to be shining, seeing if, because we can look at a location and our client's like, oh, this spot is my favorite spot to shoot at. But we look at Google Earth and it's like all throughout the day, it's in direct sunlight. And we're like, which you can shoot in direct sunlight. It's not our favorable. Well, you like shooting it more in direct sunlight than I do.
I like playing with it creatively.
It's a style, but sometimes the only real struggle I find with direct light, not necessarily what it ends up looking like, is just mostly the clients struggling with keeping their eyes open.
Yes. Well, and it's so weird how important it is to sort out both weather and the sun's location. And we do that work, but if it happens to be an overcast day, it won't matter. It'll just end up being that
360 softbox.
Yeah, we can literally shoot. We can take a photo from any direction at a location, which frees us up completely.
So please don't be afraid of those little bit of rainy days because the lighting on those days can be amazing.
Yeah, it can be perfect. Of course, we don't want you drenched, but it can be perfect.
Unless you want to be, because those are cute too.
That is very true.
Get wet.
Yeah. But then the sunny days, if there's a water feature, for instance, and you want to see that.
Get wet. Sorry.
If there's a water feature and it happens to be that we have to take this photo in the evening and you want the water feature behind you and the sun is beaming into your eyes, it's going to be tough for us to sort out taking a great photo of you because, you're not going to be able to have your eyes open.
That would be a nice little closed eye shot, the sniff your
There
shoulder.
are options. There are, and, hopefully there are other facets of the location that are usable until a point where the sun's not shining in your eyes.
But I have really been enjoying, you've been shooting more direct light and really making it work for you and not being a little bitch about it. Like
yeah, it's been awesome, man.
I'm like, I look at direct light, I'm like, run away.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Harsh shadows can be like, it's fine line between flattering and terrifying. But if you find that fine line, you can create some really visually stunning stuff. But then, so location leads into time frame. And that time frame will end up giving you via email. And we really do simplify a lot of this. It comes through, most of it comes through in like 1 or 2 emails. Once we have time frames sorted out with you, there's a booking form.
We send you a link.
Yeah, you get a link. There's a little contract. We make you sign your life away when we're done with that. That comes to us through email. We have a basically a retainer that we send out 35%
of whatever package you choose.
Yeah, and so that gets sent to you via email.
And that's due to secure your date and your session in the calendar.
And then literally after that's paid, you're in the books. And
you're all set to go. And from that point, we can chit-chat even more about specific style or dress or makeup or anything fun like that. Or if, it's booked, you want it out of your hair, you're good until we'll check in the day before the session.
Yeah.
And, make sure everything's good to go. Make sure the weather's good. We don't need to reschedule, move anything around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that pretty much ends up being it. Other than that, I guess I'd say,
and then your retainer, we're pretty lackadaisical.
Yeah. Oh,
remember the debate about talking that word?
Oh, God, dude. I do remember that.
Pretty lackadaisical about the retainer. I mean, in the contract, it says it's due by the session date.
Oh, do you mean the remainder?
Yeah.
The remainder.
Retainer. Remainder. Yeah. Your remainder.
Yeah, so the remainder on the session, which would be 65%, is usually due. It says in the contract it's due on the day of the session, but we normally end up shooting later in the evening, so we'll send out the next day, and then when you get an opportunity to pay it, go ahead. If you don't, we won't come and chop your head off.
Right, we understand.
We send somebody else to do that. So
no, like if you say, hey, I don't get paid till Friday, no biggie.
Yeah, dude, we don't. We're humans. We don't care.
We get it. But yeah,
that's pretty much our booking process.
Yeah,
that's how you get it.
I guess after the shoot happens, the process is basically that we go home, try and remember to send out the invoice that night, otherwise it goes out the morning after.
Yep.
And then we do a transfer, get all of the photos that we shot that evening saved onto 2 separate Lacy drives.
Oh, yeah.
Double saved, and then you're in the editing queue.
Yeah, there is a ton of technological babble that we could go into on why the process afterwards ends up being significantly more hands-on and taking probably double the time or if not more.
Yeah, we generally say that however long we ended up shooting the session, whether it's a hour-long senior session or an 8-hour wedding, typically editing takes 2 to 3 times that amount of time.
Yeah.
Right, wouldn't you say?
I would say, but, and it also depends on how many good photos we got because, as we've changed and gotten better at what we're doing, we take a lot more photos that are very, a lot higher quality. And so when it comes to doing individual photo sessions like that, there are times where from any given package, you'll get like 90 photos for our standard package. That'll happen sometimes. It's not a guarantee, but sometimes it'll happen. And so for those sessions, man, it can take 4 or 5 times as long as it took to shoot to edit. So it'll take us a full 8-hour day or more to get through.
Yeah, the good and bad side about being 2 shooters who work together.
Right.
There's several. Well, there aren't that many bad ones.
And double the photos.
Yeah. But that's the cool thing is like you get 2 different points of view from your shoot when you work with us.
Yeah.
Like we have similar eyes in terms of what we shoot for, but at the same time we have
different ideas.
And it's so cool to go through and be like, oh, seeing some of your shots and be like, I would have never seen that.
Yeah, lately I've been describing it like Sophia takes a lot of, and this isn't always by any means, but you take a lot more really beautiful portraits that are more intimate, and closer up.
Closer
oftentimes.
details.
Yeah, closer
little
details.
moments.
And then a lot of times I kind of describe my stuff as I take landscapes that happen to have people in them.
Yeah. And they're so grand and beautiful, and
I'm addicted to trying to create that epic feeling if I can.
And I'm looking for those small moments that you would have never have noticed, and then you see them and you're like, oh.
Sometimes you're even like, oh. But I guess, this process of working with us and getting things started differs for businesses in that the things we discuss are different, but the process of actually getting us to a point of, like, say, making a video or even booking a graphic design project, if you're looking for a logo or something of that nature for your business, it's relatively similar. It's just a host of questions to zero in on what we're doing on the day, and then spending that time to do it, both on the day and usually many days after.
Yeah.
and then it gets sent out to you.
And as far as the editing queue and how long it takes for us to get things sent to you, it varies.
It varies during seasons.
Seasonally, and I guess whenever we decide to get both sick at the same time.
Oh yeah, that's helpful.
Very helpful.
That's the best.
But we try to keep everything at like 4 to 6 weeks turnaround at least. In our contract, I think it's, 8 to 12, I think, in our contract.
Yeah, we ended up going, generally speaking, off of like a standard that we ended up seeing, a couple of standards that we ended up seeing just for other professional photographers in the industry, because when you're first sorting yourself out, you're just going off of standards that are set by, those that came before you. Yeah. And honestly, we want to do significantly better than that. I would love our return times to be 2 weeks, man, if we could.
Most times they are.
But it just ends up being, how swamped are we? Did we both get COVID at the same time? What season are we in? And I think that that is going to change and hopefully improve in the future. But
why do we think that?
This segues into sort of our next thing. So we kind of, and we're uncertain about it, but we kind of want to hire somebody, a third hand, if we could. And maybe you could say a little bit too. Why? I know this was my idea.
Yeah, so
this is my idea. So okay, all right. Fine.
Big scary jumps forward in business. It's usually his idea.
So the concept is basically this. We want to have more time to develop important portions of our business that take a lot of time, thought, planning, and then implementation is never easy either. So when it comes to, I want us to be able to have more video work coming from small businesses, it's going to take a lot of marketing work, and doing things as simple as this podcast take a ton of time. And so working on all of these things, we don't always have room for it in our schedule. And one way that we've thought of that would free up some of that time would be to start somebody in the beginning, maybe even on just editing, to get them to a point of fluency in both photo and video editing, and that would help us not only turn out and make a better product, but like turn out faster. But it would hopefully free up some of our time to be working on more complex projects.
Right. Yeah, we can take on larger projects in which the turnaround time we might take a full month just to work on the edit of that project.
Yeah.
But we have an editor who's taking care of our other shoots.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you are, I guess, if you've made it this far in the podcast and you're a person who's ever thought about that, it would be kind of interesting to hear if there's anyone listening that has taken an interest in the creative field before and just not really had a place to put themselves. But we're just thinking about this as like, would it be something that we could feasibly do? Train somebody in the beginning for a while on
editing, and
particularly photo edits.
And this person would be like an employee. We have them working on edits, specific edits that we just don't have time for. They need to get kicked out sooner. Of course, we're training them in how we edit. They're matching up with everything that we normally turn out.
Yeah, basically showing our secret sauce.
Right.
How do we actually do what we do?
And yeah, just that person starts out with editing, and here and there they're coming to some of our larger shoots that we might need a third hand on, being a grip, someone who holds a light, someone who might hold a horse because
we might need that.
Someone who is just there to be a third hand, at
and that would end
events.
up probably graduating into slowly beginning to take photos and shoot.
Yeah.
And so another aspect of that would be incredibly helpful for us would basically be having somebody to help us out with behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
Stuff that you guys would see much like this in a different format. Because it's tough for us to both be trying to constantly remember all of these concepts we have on a shoot day and implement them, but then to have somebody there, it would take so much worry away to not have to pull our phones out and see if we can make the perfect behind the scenes video.
Right.
Then also it's kind of interesting because one of us isn't there
right.
in each of the videos. So it would be so cool to have somebody that could actually be taking both photo and video
right.
In some of those cases. And then also as time progresses, maybe that person could do some of their own small shoots. Maybe over time they would, one cool aspect, I hope we would be cool bosses, but over time we would be looking at having them help us on more and more creative projects as those get further along, in the oven and they're cooking and hopefully things get to a point where we're able to really just have a very, very interesting, diverse, and fun creative job. But that's an idea we've had.
We're contemplating it, trying to see what moves we need to make.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to sort out, but it's been a concept, and we'll see where it goes. And then I think that I have like a final topic, which was production differences between photo and video.
Yes. So obviously starting out primarily focusing on photo, both of us are to our own horn, very proficient in photo work, pretty much know the ins and outs of what there is in photography, but learning how to then continue to influence creativity into those rules that we know of photography. But learning more about video and diving into that, you're definitely the spearhead on that one. Why don't you talk about some of the main differences?
Fine, I'll do it. So the differences really between photo and video come down to, in my eyes anyway, gear, because you're not so gear and obviously knowledge. You looking between photo and video. One reason that we're having to consider doing things like price increases for video and having to really learn how to value our time has actually just been in getting more experienced with the production of video. Photos, you're capturing something that is frozen in time.
A split second.
It's a split second, and then it's gone, and you get to manipulate that in so many ways, both on set or on location,
and in post.
And you can do that with video, but the difference is you're capturing thousands, if not millions, of these still images, and each of them are important. If they aren't coherent, if they don't run the correct way, if you light one area of the room and someone walks through it and the other area isn't lit,
You'll see it.
You're going to see it. It doesn't work. And so the production differences basically are, it just takes more of everything. It takes more gear. It takes more time, more planning. It's a very complex field, but it's incredibly rewarding. So it definitely is a challenge, but I'm so down and excited to explore it more and more. I guess one of the most basic things to think of is like you take a photo with your camera and you hit click, and if your settings are right, you've exposed things the way you want, you framed it up, perfectly. Am I boring?
No. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry for rambling, but you get everything just the way you want it. You hit click, and then you're good. But and you might have even been shaky. You might have even tilted things a little off.
But it's okay.
But it's okay.
You don't see that really.
Yeah, that's fixable.
In video.
If you're
You
a little
see
shaky, you're going to see it. And people are going to be like, why is this so intense?
And then that's why you spend thousands of dollars on even more gear that's not needed for photography.
The camera steady. Yeah. And,
you look like a freaking spaceman with all the gear.
Basically, there's no other way to do it. But yeah, those production differences are kind of insane. But man, it's fun. I'm just happy that it feels like constantly more to learn in our field.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to take a quick look, make sure that... Nope.
Nobody?
Nobody.
So, okay.
I mean, it was just a little while ago.
I know. I made it really brief.
And we haven't posted, like...
So, to include everybody on what we're hoping happens maybe next round of our podcast is... prior to the podcast, I love the idea of getting to post a little story on our Instagram and Facebook, which will be a Q&A. And if anybody happens to want to ask us a question, we can kind of be live in answering those questions that we would post up on our stories. And
do a wave and smile.
Hi. Are you doing...
No, just a photo.
You just a photo? Oh, okay.
Still here.
I'm so much less nervous if it's a photo. Ready?
Cute.
Perfect. Yo. but then hopefully toward the end of the podcast, we can actually pull out... That's a ridiculous photo, man.
Don't you dare delete it. I'm posting it.
Hopefully toward the end of the podcast, having preemptively done that story, we can check our phones and see any of your guys' questions. And so if those come through to us, we will answer them sort of live as we see them. But you guys were lame this time and didn't reply.
It's okay. They don't like us.
That's okay. That's okay. We haven't done this in ages. So first we have to prove that we're worth caring about.
I'm not cool, I know.
Yeah, you're right. So, in the future we'll see if we can do that. But any closing thoughts for the Kinda Lost podcast, episode 3 or 4 or whatever this is?
We'll see you when we do episode 4 or 5.
I guess that's a closing thought. Is that a closing thought? That's a closing thought.
I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into the Kinda Lost podcast.
We're definitely kinda lost.
And we will see you next time.